Welcome to Audiobooks, a space created for thinkers, learners, and builders who understand that success is never accidental, but shaped slowly by the ideas we absorb, reflect on, and apply over time. If you have ever wondered why some people consistently make better decisions, adapt faster, and move forward with clarity while others struggle despite effort, this audiobook was created for you, because behind every form of success lies a foundation of knowledge that quietly shapes behavior, mindset, and direction. Today's audiobook is titled Knowledge Learn Powerful Ideas That Shape Success, and it is a deep exploration of how the right ideas, understood at the right time, can transform the way you think, act, and grow in every area of life. This audiobook is not about memorizing information, but about understanding powerful principles that influence discipline, focus, decision-making, resilience, and long-term achievement, allowing knowledge to become a practical force rather than abstract theory. Before we begin, we invite you to subscribe to Audiobooks. Like this audiobook, share it with someone who values learning and personal growth. Information, but about understanding powerful principles that influence discipline, focus, decision-making, resilience, and long-term achievement, allowing knowledge to become a practical force rather than abstract theory. Before we begin, we invite you to subscribe to Audiobooks. Like this audiobook, share it with someone who values learning and personal growth, and leave a comment telling us where you are listening from, because your support helps this channel continue creating thoughtful audiobooks that turn knowledge into meaningful progress. Before we move into the core ideas, it's important to know that this audiobook is intentionally structured into 8 deeply connected chapters, each one designed to expand your understanding step by step so knowledge does not remain abstract, but becomes a practical force that shapes success, decision-making, and long-term growth. Each chapter builds on the previous one, allowing ideas to mature naturally, because powerful knowledge works best when it is absorbed gradually, reflected on deeply, and applied with patience. Chapter 1. Knowledge as the Foundation of Success: Why Ideas Shape Outcomes Before Actions Do. In this chapter, we explore why knowledge is the true foundation of success, how ideas silently shape beliefs and behavior long before results appear, and why understanding the right principles is essential for making better decisions, building discipline, and creating lasting progress in any area of life. Knowledge is often underestimated because its impact is invisible in the beginning, yet every decision, habit, and action is guided by what a person understands to be true about themselves, the world, and what is possible. Long before success becomes visible, it is shaped internally by ideas that influence how challenges are interpreted and opportunities are recognized. When knowledge is shallow, decisions are reactive. When understanding is deep, decisions become intentional. This difference quietly determines outcomes. Knowledge shapes perception. Perception shapes choices. Choices shape habits. Habits shape results. Success begins long before action. It begins with understanding. Many people work hard without making progress because effort without understanding often leads to repetition rather than improvement. When understanding is deep, decisions become intentional. This difference quietly determines outcomes. Knowledge shapes perception. Perception shapes choices. Choices shape habits. Habits shape results. Success begins long before action. It begins with understanding. Many people work hard without making progress because effort without understanding often leads to repetition rather than improvement, causing frustration rather than growth. When actions are taken without clarity, mistakes repeat themselves. Repetition without learning wastes energy. Wasted energy leads to burnout. Burnout weakens discipline. Discipline collapses without direction. Knowledge provides direction. Direction gives meaning to effort. Meaning sustains persistence. Persistence allows improvement. Improvement compounds over time. Powerful ideas change the way problems are viewed, because knowledge reframes obstacles not as barriers, but as information that guides adjustment and learning. Without this perspective, challenges feel personal and discouraging. With it, challenges feel instructional. This shift reduces emotional resistance. Reduced resistance improves focus. Focus strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains consistency. Knowledge transforms difficulty into progress. Growth becomes intentional rather than accidental. Understanding precedes confidence, because confidence rooted in knowledge is stable, while confidence based on hope collapses under pressure. When people know why they are doing something, they persist longer. When they only know what they are doing, motivation fades quickly. Knowledge creates certainty. Certainty stabilizes effort. Stable effort builds competence. Competence reinforces belief. Belief strengthens resilience. This cycle supports long-term success. Knowledge also determines how time is used, because understanding priority prevents distraction and helps distinguish what matters from what merely feels urgent. Without clarity, attention is scattered. Scattered attention weakens results. Knowledge organizes focus. Organized focus improves quality. Quality accelerates learning. Learning deepens understanding. Time becomes an ally rather than an enemy. Progress becomes deliberate. Many failures occur not because people lack ability, but because they lack the ideas necessary to guide their ability effectively. Talent without understanding produces inconsistent results. Skill without insight creates limitations. Knowledge aligns ability with purpose. Purpose sharpens effort. Effort becomes efficient. Efficiency preserves energy. Energy sustains consistency. Knowledge amplifies capability. Another critical role of knowledge is reducing fear, because fear often arises from uncertainty rather than reality. When people do not understand a situation, imagination fills the gaps with worst-case scenarios. Knowledge replaces imagination with clarity. Clarity reduces fear. Reduced fear improves decision. Better decisions protect progress. Progress builds confidence. Confidence encourages exploration. Growth expands. Knowledge also shapes long-term thinking, because understanding how systems work prevents impulsive decisions driven by short-term emotion. Short-term thinking sacrifices future outcomes. Knowledge reveals consequences. Awareness guides restraint. Restraint supports patience. Patience allows compounding. Compounding produces results that effort alone cannot achieve. This is how success grows quietly. Ultimately, knowledge is the foundation of success because it informs every choice, strengthens every habit, and gives direction to every action that follows. Without knowledge, effort is blind. With knowledge, effort becomes intelligent. This chapter establishes the essential truth that before success can be built externally, patience allows compounding. Compounding produces results that effort alone cannot achieve. This is how success grows quietly. Ultimately, knowledge is the foundation of success because it informs every choice, strengthens every habit, and gives direction to every action that follows. Without knowledge, effort is blind. With knowledge, effort becomes intelligent. This chapter establishes the essential truth that before success can be built externally, it must first be understood internally, because ideas shape identity, identity shapes behavior, and behavior determines results over time. Once it becomes clear that knowledge shapes outcomes long before action does, the next step is understanding that not all knowledge has equal value, because information alone does not create success unless it changes the way you think, reason, and interpret the world around you. In the next chapter, we move beyond collecting facts and explore how learning to think clearly and critically transforms knowledge into a powerful tool for long-term success. Chapter 2. Learning how to think, why clear thinking matters more than information. In this chapter we explore why learning how to think clearly, critically, and independently is more important than simply accumulating information, how strong thinking skills improve decision-making in every area of life, and why success is often determined by reasoning quality rather than raw intelligence or effort. Many people live in an age of endless information yet struggle to make good decisions, because information without clear thinking often creates confusion rather than clarity, leading to overwhelm instead of progress. When the mind is filled with unexamined ideas, contradictions accumulate quietly. Confusion weakens confidence. Weak confidence leads to hesitation. Hesitation delays action. Clear thinking cuts through noise. It organizes understanding. It simplifies complexity. It reveals what matters. Progress becomes possible when thinking becomes intentional. Clear thinking begins with the ability to question assumptions, because many limitations are inherited unconsciously from culture, upbringing, or repeated exposure rather than chosen deliberately. When assumptions go unchallenged, clear thinking cuts through noise. It organizes understanding. It simplifies complexity. It reveals what matters. Progress becomes possible when thinking becomes intentional. Clear thinking begins with the ability to question assumptions, because many limitations are inherited unconsciously from culture, upbringing, or repeated exposure rather than chosen deliberately. When assumptions go unchallenged, behavior follows patterns without awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates freedom. Learning to think means learning to pause before reacting. This pause creates space for reflection. Reflection improves judgment. Judgment guides better action. This is how thinking shapes outcomes. Critical thinking allows individuals to evaluate ideas rather than absorb them passively, which is essential in a world where opinions are louder than facts, and certainty is often mistaken for truth. Without this skill, people adopt beliefs that do not serve them. These beliefs shape habits. Habits shape results. Learning to think critically breaks this chain. It restores agency. It strengthens discernment. Behavior compounds outcomes. Learning how to think improves every decision simultaneously. Emotional thinking often overrides rational thinking, especially under stress, which is why clear thinking requires emotional awareness rather than emotional suppression. When emotions dominate unchecked, decisions become impulsive. Impulsivity creates regret. Regret weakens confidence. Clear thinking integrates emotion with logic. Balance restores clarity. Clarity improves control. Control supports consistency. Consistency builds success. Learning how to think also improves adaptability, because rigid thinking collapses under change while flexible thinking adjusts and survives. Change is constant. Resistance creates friction. Friction drains energy. Flexible thinking preserves momentum. Momentum sustains growth. Growth continues even during uncertainty. This adaptability becomes a competitive advantage over time. Another benefit of clear thinking is improved learning itself, because understanding how ideas connect allows knowledge to be integrated rather than memorized. Integration deepens understanding. Deep understanding improves application. Application reinforces learning. Learning compounds. Growth accelerates naturally. Ultimately, learning how to think transforms knowledge into wisdom. Because wisdom is not knowing many things, but knowing how to apply the right ideas at the right time. This chapter establishes that success favors those who refine their thinking continuously. Because clear thought leads to clear action, and clear action produces results that information alone never could. And why success is built not through intensity, but through sustained, intelligent effort. Chapter 3. Ideas that shape discipline and consistency. Why success is built daily. In this chapter, we explore the foundational ideas that create discipline and consistency, how understanding these principles transforms effort into habit, and why long-term success depends more on daily behavior than on motivation or talent. Discipline is often misunderstood as force or self-punishment, yet in reality it grows from understanding why consistency matters more than emotional drive. Because motivation fluctuates while habits quietly determine outcomes. When people rely on motivation, action becomes unpredictable. Unpredictable action breaks momentum. Broken momentum weakens confidence. Knowledge reframes discipline as alignment rather than resistance. Alignment reduces friction. Reduced friction supports repetition. Repetition builds habits. Habits shape identity. Identity sustains behavior. Discipline becomes natural when it is understood rather than forced. Consistency is powerful because small actions repeated over time produce results that dramatic effort cannot sustain, which is why many successful outcomes appear sudden even though they were built slowly. Without this understanding, people underestimate small actions, overestimate short-term intensity. Knowledge corrects this distortion. It reveals how progress compounds invisibly. Invisibility discourages the impatient. Patience strengthens the disciplined. Disciplined behavior accumulates quietly. Results eventually surface. This principle governs all long-term success. Understanding how habits form removes much of the struggle associated with discipline, because behavior repeated in stable conditions gradually becomes automatic rather than effortful. Automatic behavior conserves energy. Conserved energy supports endurance. Endurance sustains progress. Knowledge turns discipline into system design. Systems replace willpower. Willpower is unreliable. Systems are consistent. This shift transforms effort into structure. Another powerful idea is that discipline grows from clarity, because unclear goals create hesitation and hesitation weakens follow-through. When purpose is understood, effort feels meaningful. Meaning sustains commitment. Commitment strengthens consistency. Knowledge connects action to outcome. Outcome reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes discipline. Discipline compounds success. Resistance often appears when discipline is misunderstood as deprivation rather than investment, because the mind naturally avoids what feels like loss. Knowledge reframes discipline as future gain. Future gain justifies present effort. Effort feels chosen rather than forced. This perspective reduces internal conflict. Reduced conflict improves focus. Focus strengthens execution. Execution sustains consistency. Discipline also depends on environment, because surroundings shape behavior more powerfully than intention alone. Knowledge reveals how cues trigger habits unconsciously. By shaping environment, behavior changes naturally. This reduces reliance on motivation. Consistency becomes easier. Progress stabilizes. Discipline becomes embedded in daily life. Another key idea is that failure does not break discipline unless it is interpreted incorrectly, because occasional inconsistency is inevitable in any long-term process. Knowledge reframes failure as feedback rather than proof of inadequacy. Feedback guides adjustment. Adjustment restores momentum. Momentum sustains confidence. Confidence protects discipline. This mindset prevents quitting. Ultimately, discipline and consistency are shaped by ideas that transform effort into habit and habit into identity, allowing success to grow steadily rather than dramatically. This chapter establishes that daily behavior, guided by understanding, is the true engine of achievement. Because success is not created in moments of intensity, but in the quiet repetition of aligned actions over time, as discipline and consistency become grounded in understanding rather than force. The next powerful role of knowledge reveals itself in the quality of decisions you make, because every habit, opportunity, and direction in life is ultimately shaped by the choices you repeat over time. In the next chapter, we explore how knowledge improves decision-making, sharpens judgment, and quietly determines whether effort leads to progress or frustration. Chapter 4. Knowledge that improves decision-making, choosing better paths over time. In this chapter, we explore how knowledge strengthens decision-making, why better choices matter more than perfect conditions, and how understanding consequences, trade-offs, and long-term impact allows success to grow steadily rather than randomly. Every outcome in life is the result of decisions made repeatedly, yet many people underestimate how much their future is shaped not by major turning points but by small daily choices guided by incomplete or flawed understanding. When decisions are made emotionally or impulsively, effort is often wasted even when intentions are good. Knowledge introduces awareness into decision-making. Awareness slows reaction. Slower reaction allows reasoning. Reasoning improves judgment. Judgment guides direction. Direction compounds outcomes. Over time, better decisions quietly reshape life. One of the most important ways knowledge improves decisions is by revealing consequences that are not immediately visible. Because short-term comfort often hides long-term cost. Without understanding cause and effect, people choose what feels easy now and pay for it later. Knowledge exposes delayed consequences. Awareness strengthens restraint. Restraint protects progress. This ability to see beyond the present moment separates thoughtful builders from reactive strugglers. Decisions become intentional rather than convenient. Good decision-making also depends on understanding trade-offs, because every choice includes both a benefit and a cost, even when the cost is invisible at first. Knowledge clarifies these trade-offs. Clarity reduces regret. Reduced regret preserves confidence. Confidence supports consistency. When trade-offs are understood, choices feel aligned rather than conflicted. Energy is conserved. Focus improves. Progress stabilizes. Another powerful role of knowledge is reducing decision fatigue, because understanding priorities eliminates unnecessary choices that drain mental energy throughout the day. When priorities are unclear, attention is scattered. Scattered attention weakens outcomes. Knowledge organizes priorities. Organized priorities guide behavior. Behavior becomes efficient. Efficiency preserves energy. Energy sustains discipline. This clarity allows better decisions with less effort. Knowledge also protects against poor decisions driven by fear, comparison, or social pressure, because understanding personal goals and values provides an internal compass that external noise cannot easily disrupt. Without this compass, people chase validation. Validation leads to distraction. Distraction delays growth. Knowledge anchors decision-making internally. Alignment strengthens confidence. Confidence stabilizes direction. Decision-making improves further when knowledge includes self-awareness, because understanding strengths, limitations, and tendencies prevents unrealistic commitments and repeated mistakes. Awareness guides planning. Planning prevents overload. Overload leads to burnout. Knowledge supports balance. Balance sustains progress. Growth becomes manageable rather than exhausting. Another important insight is that decision quality compounds over time, because small improvements, repeated daily, produce exponential change rather than linear progress. One better choice today influences tomorrow's options. Better options create better opportunities. Opportunities reinforce growth. This compounding effect explains why knowledge-driven decisions outperform luck in the long run. Ultimately, knowledge improves decision-making by transforming uncertainty into clarity and reaction into intention, allowing each choice to support long-term direction rather than short-term emotion. This chapter establishes that success is not the result of perfect decisions, but of consistently better decisions made with understanding, patience, and awareness over time. As decision-making becomes clearer and more intentional through knowledge, another powerful dimension of understanding reveals itself in how individuals respond to difficulty, change, and uncertainty, because success is never built in stable conditions alone, but shaped by how well a person adapts when circumstances shift. In the next chapter, we explore how knowledge builds resilience and adaptability, allowing growth to continue even when plans are disrupted or challenges appear unexpectedly. Chapter 5. Knowledge that builds resilience and adaptability, thriving through change and challenge. In this chapter we explore how knowledge strengthens resilience and adaptability, why understanding how change works prevents collapse under pressure, and how mentally flexible individuals continue growing even when conditions are uncertain or uncomfortable. Resilience is often mistaken for toughness or emotional suppression, yet true resilience is rooted in understanding, because when people know how challenges function and why difficulty is part of growth, they respond with adjustment rather than panic. Without this understanding, obstacles feel personal and overwhelming, leading to emotional reactions that disrupt progress. Knowledge reframes adversity as information. Information guides adaptation. Adaptation restores momentum. Momentum sustains confidence, because when people know how challenges function and why difficulty is part of growth, they respond with adjustment rather than panic. Without this understanding, obstacles feel personal and overwhelming, leading to emotional reactions that disrupt progress. Knowledge reframes adversity as information. Information guides adaptation. Adaptation restores momentum. Momentum sustains confidence. This process allows progress to continue even when conditions are far from ideal. Adaptability depends on the ability to update thinking rather than defend old assumptions, because rigid beliefs break under change while flexible understanding bends and survives. Knowledge teaches that change is constant rather than exceptional, which reduces shock when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Reduced shock preserves clarity. Clarity improves decision-making. Better decisions protect direction. Direction sustains growth. This mental flexibility becomes a long-term advantage. Resilient individuals understand that failure and disruption are not signs of inadequacy, but signals that systems require adjustment rather than abandonment. Without this insight, many people quit prematurely. Knowledge prevents misinterpretation. Correct interpretation restores confidence. Confidence encourages persistence. Persistence compounds progress. Growth continues even after setbacks. Another key role of knowledge in resilience is emotional regulation, because understanding how emotions influence perception prevents temporary feelings from dictating permanent decisions. When emotions are misunderstood, fear and frustration dominate. Knowledge introduces awareness. Awareness creates distance. Distance allows choice. Choice restores control. Control stabilizes behavior. This stability protects long-term effort. Adaptability also improves when knowledge includes pattern recognition, because recognizing recurring challenges prevents overreaction to individual events. Patterns reveal structure. Structure guides strategy. Strategy reduces chaos. Reduced chaos improves confidence. Learning becomes cumulative rather than repetitive. Experience turns into wisdom. Resilience is strengthened further when individuals understand that progress is rarely linear, because expecting smooth growth creates disappointment during inevitable setbacks. Knowledge replaces unrealistic expectations with realistic patience. Patience supports consistency. Consistency sustains momentum. This mindset prevents discouragement and emotional withdrawal. Knowledge also builds resilience by reducing fear of the unknown, because understanding principles allows navigation even when outcomes are unclear. Fear shrinks when comprehension grows. Reduced fear improves action. Action builds experience. Experience reinforces confidence. Confidence supports adaptation. Growth continues despite uncertainty. Ultimately, resilience and adaptability grow from understanding rather than force, allowing individuals to remain steady, curious, and responsive instead of reactive when life changes. This chapter reinforces that knowledge does not eliminate difficulty, but transforms it into a manageable and meaningful part of the journey toward success. As resilience and adaptability grow through understanding rather than force, knowledge begins to reveal its influence not only in how people respond to the present, but in how they imagine, plan, and commit to the future. Because success is guided as much by long-term vision as it is by daily action. In the next chapter, we explore how knowledge shapes vision, direction, and patience, allowing progress to remain steady even when results take time to appear. Chapter 6. Knowledge that shapes long-term vision, seeing beyond the present moment. In this chapter, we explore how knowledge builds long-term vision, why understanding systems and timelines prevents short-term thinking, and how clear vision allows success to grow steadily without being derailed by impatience or distraction. Long-term vision is often mistaken for optimism or ambition, yet in reality it is grounded in understanding how progress unfolds over time, because without this understanding, people expect results too quickly and abandon paths that are actually working. Knowledge reveals that most meaningful outcomes develop gradually through consistent effort rather than dramatic breakthroughs. This awareness reshapes expectations. Expectations guide behavior. Behavior determines consistency. Consistency compounds results. Vision stabilizes effort during quiet periods. Progress continues even when feedback is limited. Knowledge strengthens vision by clarifying how systems operate, because when people understand cause and effect, they trust processes rather than chasing immediate validation. Without this clarity, attention shifts constantly. Shifting attention weakens momentum. Knowledge anchors focus. Anchored focus supports patience. Patience sustains effort. Effort compounds over time. Vision remains intact through uncertainty. Another role of knowledge in shaping vision is helping individuals distinguish between urgency and importance, because reacting to immediate demands often sacrifices long-term growth. Understanding priorities creates discipline. Discipline protects future outcomes. This perspective allows people to say no strategically. Strategic restraint preserves energy. Energy supports consistency. Vision remains clear. Long-term thinking also depends on understanding trade-offs across time, because every choice made today influences options available tomorrow. Knowledge exposes these connections. Awareness improves planning. Planning reduces regret. Reduced regret strengthens confidence. Confidence supports long-term commitment. Vision becomes practical rather than abstract. Knowledge also prevents discouragement by revealing that progress is rarely linear, because plateaus, delays, and setbacks are natural stages of development rather than signs of failure. This understanding normalizes patience. Patience reduces emotional volatility. Emotional stability protects discipline. Growth continues calmly. Vision becomes stronger when knowledge includes self-awareness, because understanding personal knowledge also prevents discouragement by revealing that progress is rarely linear, because plateaus, delays, and setbacks are natural stages of development rather than signs of failure. This understanding normalizes patience. Patience reduces emotional volatility. Emotional stability protects discipline. Growth continues calmly. Vision becomes stronger when knowledge includes self-awareness, because understanding personal strengths and limitations allows goals to be aligned realistically rather than idealistically. Alignment reduces frustration. Reduced frustration sustains motivation. Motivation supports consistency. Vision becomes achievable. Another benefit of knowledge-driven vision is resilience against comparison, because understanding individual timelines prevents distraction by others' progress. Comparison distorts perception. Knowledge restores perspective. Perspective protects direction. Direction sustains growth. Ultimately, long-term vision shaped by knowledge transforms effort into a purposeful journey rather than a desperate race, allowing success to mature naturally over time. This chapter reinforces that knowledge does not rush progress, but guides it patiently toward meaningful outcomes. As vision becomes clearer and long-term direction steadies behavior, another essential dimension of knowledge emerges in how individuals relate to responsibility, integrity, and personal standards, because success that lacks internal alignment often feels empty or unstable. In the next chapter, we explore how knowledge shapes character, responsibility, and ethical consistency, which quietly supports sustainable success. Chapter 7. Knowledge that shapes character and responsibility, building success that lasts. In this chapter, we explore how knowledge shapes character and responsibility, why integrity strengthens long-term success, and how understanding personal standards influences trust, consistency, and self-respect over time. Character is shaped by the ideas people hold about responsibility, accountability, and integrity, because these beliefs influence decisions when no one is watching. Knowledge clarifies the long-term consequences of shortcuts and compromises, revealing that trust and reputation compound just like habits and effort. Without this understanding, short-term gain feels tempting. With it, restraint becomes logical. Responsibility strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains progress. Success becomes stable rather than fragile. Understanding responsibility changes how individuals respond to outcomes, because blame removes agency while ownership restores control. Knowledge reinforces this connection. Ownership improves clarity. Clarity guides action. Action restores momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence reinforces responsibility. This cycle supports growth. Integrity becomes practical rather than idealistic when people understand how trust influences opportunities, relationships, and collaboration over time. Trust attracts opportunity. Opportunity expands options. Options increase resilience. Knowledge reveals this chain. Awareness encourages consistency. Consistency builds credibility. Credibility sustains success. Knowledge also shapes character by improving self-awareness, allowing individuals to recognize tendencies toward avoidance, impulsivity, or rationalization before they sabotage progress. Awareness interrupts patterns. Interruption enables choice. Choice restores alignment. Alignment strengthens confidence. Growth becomes intentional. Responsibility also includes understanding limits, because knowing when to say no protects energy and prevents overextension. Knowledge reframes boundaries as discipline rather than weakness. Boundaries preserve focus. Focus sustains quality. Quality reinforces trust. Success grows steadily. Character-driven success also reduces stress, because living in alignment with values eliminates internal conflict that drains energy and clarity. Knowledge reveals the cost of misalignment. Awareness encourages correction. Correction restores peace. Peace supports consistency. Over time, knowledge-based character strengthens identity, because individuals begin to see themselves as reliable, principled, and consistent. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior sustains habits. Habits compound outcomes. Success becomes self-reinforcing. Ultimately, knowledge that shapes character ensures that success is not only achieved but maintained with integrity, balance, and self-respect, making progress meaningful rather than hollow. With knowledge shaping mindset, thinking, discipline, decisions, resilience, vision, and character, the final understanding emerges in how all these ideas are integrated into daily life, because knowledge fulfills its purpose only when it becomes lived experience rather than stored information. In the final chapter, we explore how knowledge is applied consistently to create lasting success. Chapter 8. Living knowledge daily, turning understanding into lasting success. In this chapter, we explore how knowledge becomes powerful only when applied consistently, how daily integration turns ideas into habits, and why success ultimately depends on living what you understand rather than merely knowing it. Knowledge remains incomplete until it is practiced, because understanding without application produces insight without transformation. When ideas remain theoretical, behavior stays unchanged. Knowledge applied daily reshapes habits. Habits shape identity. Identity sustains behavior. This progression transforms learning into success. Application gives meaning to understanding. Understanding guides action. Action compounds results. Living knowledge requires patience. because change unfolds gradually as new habits replace old patterns. Early progress feels subtle. Subtle change tests belief. Knowledge reinforces trust in process. Trust sustains consistency. Consistency reshapes behavior. Growth becomes visible over time. Integration also requires reflection, because awareness of results allows adjustment and refinement rather than repetition of ineffective patterns. Reflection deepens learning. Learning improves judgment. Judgment refines action. Action strengthens outcomes. Knowledge evolves through experience. Another aspect of living knowledge is intentional simplicity, because focusing on a few powerful ideas, applied consistently, produces greater impact than scattered attention across many concepts. Simplicity improves clarity. Clarity strengthens discipline. Discipline sustains progress. Success becomes manageable. Living knowledge also requires humility, because growth continues only when learning remains open. Knowledge that is defended becomes rigid. Rigidity limits adaptation. Openness sustains evolution. Success remains dynamic. Over time, applied knowledge reshapes environment, relationships and opportunities, because consistent behavior attracts aligned outcomes. Alignment reduces friction. Reduced friction supports momentum. Momentum sustains growth. Ultimately, living knowledge transforms success from an external pursuit into an internal practice, where understanding guides daily behavior and progress unfolds naturally. This chapter completes the journey by reinforcing that knowledge shapes success not when it is known, but when it is lived consistently and intentionally. As this audiobook reaches its conclusion, it becomes clear that knowledge is not merely information to be collected, but a living force that quietly shapes how you think, decide, act, and ultimately become. Because every form of success is guided by the ideas you understand deeply and apply consistently over time. Throughout these 8 chapters, you have explored how powerful ideas influence mindset, thinking, discipline, decision-making, resilience, vision, character, and daily behavior, revealing that success is not built through intensity or luck, but through understanding that matures into wisdom and action. When knowledge is absorbed thoughtfully and lived intentionally, it transforms effort into direction, habits into identity, and goals into outcomes that feel earned, stable, and meaningful. If this audiobook helped you reflect more deeply, think more clearly, or see success from a more grounded and realistic perspective, we invite you to subscribe to Freema audiobooks like this audiobook and share it with someone who values learning, growth, and long-term success, because the right idea at the right moment can quietly change the course of a life. You are also encouraged to leave a comment and share which chapter or insight resonated with you the most, as your feedback helps this channel continue creating thoughtful audiobooks that turn knowledge into real-world progress. Thank you for listening to Freema audiobooks, and remember that knowledge shapes success not when it is simply known, but when it is understood, lived, and practiced daily with intention and patience.